That's where I go. Hate me now.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the See You at the Top podcast, where we're all about getting to the top and being the best that we can be. And I'm honored to be here with the legendary and great person in the boxing industry, Ronnie Shields, one of the greatest trainers of all time. I'm so glad to be here with him today. Definitely take some notes. It's going to be an incredible interview. Ronnie was a fighter, started out as a professional fighter, had a title fight, and now he's trained some of the best trainers in the game, from Evander Holyfield to Mike Tyson, and now he has 2 world champions with the Charlo Brothers. And thank you so much for being here, Ronnie.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Definitely. So, pretty much what we like to talk about at the See at the Top podcast, we love having people like you on that are winning and that have been through the ups and the downs and have, are doing amazing things out there. And you've been a fighter yourself, and you've transitioned after a fighter into being one of the best, like I just said before, if not the best trainer in the game right now. So thanks so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in boxing.
Well, I was a 13-year-old kid, and I, just like all my friends, I wanted to be a football player first, and then I went out for the team. I was in the 7th grade, and I went out for the team, and I made the team. And man, I was so happy. My dad was really happy because my dad is a huge football fan, but a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. And so I was so happy. And then all of a sudden, they closed our school down and transferred us to another school. So once they transferred me to another school, they told me I had to retry out again because it's a different coach and, different everything. So, that kind of made me a little mad. So I said I wasn't going to do it. So some friends of mine was already boxing, and they convinced me to go with them to the gym. And I did. And the first day they made me spar with one of my friends, and he beat me up pretty bad.
Ooh.
So I went home, I had scratches all over my eyes, all over my face. And my mama said, "Man, what happened? You got in a fight?" I said, "No, that happened at the gym." So I said, "But I'm going back tomorrow. I'm gonna get him." And he didn't come back for the next couple of weeks. But the coach said, "You know what? You just keep training. He gonna come back. And when he come back, we gonna put you back in there." And about 2 weeks later, he did. He came back and he put us back in there. And man, I beat him up so bad.
Get him.
I got him back. And it's so funny that he quit and I continued on.
Wow, that's amazing. And where did you grow up at?
In Port Arthur, Texas.
Port Arthur, Texas. Bum B and Pimp C.
Absolutely.
Shout out UGK.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and what was the name of the boxing gym that you trained in? In your youth.
It was Menchaca Boxing Academy. A man named Dick Menchaca. He was a fighter back in his day, but he had the gym, and but one of the assistant coaches, his name was Rivers Romero. He the one took me in, showed me everything I needed to know, and he stuck with me all throughout my whole amateur career.
That's amazing. And what was your record as an amateur?
I was 260. I had 263 amateur fights.
Wow.
So I was 242 and 21.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I had a really good amateur career.
And when did you decide to go pro? And as you were an amateur, when you were training, did you know that's what you really wanted to do? You wanted to be a pro fighter?
Oh, hands down, without a doubt. I knew it from the very beginning. And actually, my amateur coach, he also taught me how to do the hand pads. And he taught everybody in the gym how to do them because we had over 30 fighters in the gym and we only had 4 coaches. So that wasn't, it was hard to get work because, we had older guys that was really good, that was, they was open already, and we were just novice. But, they said, look, we don't have the time or we don't have the people to do everybody on the pads. So we need to teach some of you guys how to do it so y'all can assist. So what they did, And I really enjoyed it because then when we got to the fights, they let us even work in the corner. So, I mean, I really enjoyed that. That was a really good thing for me. And so, I just kept it up. And then when I quit boxing as a professional, I started training fighters.
Definitely. So, the reason why I really wanted to interview is because, you're one of the most known trainers in the game right now, and boxing has played such a fundamental role in my life. But before boxing, I was hanging around the wrong crowd. I was smoking cigarettes. I was living at my mom's house, getting kicked out of there, going back to my dad's house, doing other types of various, delinquent activity, smoking cigarettes. And, the man who set this interview up, Rob T, I had always had this desire inside to kind of learn how to fight because my dad and Robert put on these events you probably remember called ballroom boxing. And
Absolutely.
and Robert speaks incredibly highly of you, and my dad does as well. And I just called my dad one day, and I was 20 years old. I wasn't doing anything with my life, and I started to see all my friends going to school. And I said, Dad, I really want to finally learn how to box. And this interview is about you, so I'm gonna, I just want to let the
No, no,
listeners
go
out there
ahead.
know this. So I definitely want to get your story. But T picked me up, and I went to the boxing gym, and I hit the bag for one round. Maybe 2 minutes. It might have been a half a round, and I was exhausted. I was huffing and puffing, and T looked at me. He said, "You out of shape." And I said, "What are you talking about, T? I look good. I'm working out every now. I'm working out twice a week, lift weights." He said, "You are out of shape. You can't hit the bag one round. You're out of shape." And he said, "What are you doing to be so out of shape?" And I said, "Well," he goes, "You smoking?" I said, "Yeah, every day." "Cigarettes?" "Yeah." "Weed?" "Yeah." And he said, "Well, there you go. You got to start running. You got to get your cardio up." But that definitely opened up my mind that these cigarettes were killing me. And I think sometimes people are so numb, they don't realize they have all these bad habits and how much it's hurting. I mean, there's such a big difference between, looking in shape and actually being in shape. But that definitely set what I like to say, my be better mindset. And since the 11 years, I've been growing just about every single day. And I really think boxing played the fundamental role in helping me develop this growth that I've had. And it taught me discipline, self-respect, but, hard work and just, I went into boxing really wanting to learn how to just, Willie Savannah, may he rest in peace. That's where I went.
Yes.
And I remember I went in there because I wanted to be able to beat somebody up if they messed with me. And I hadn't been in a street fight ever since. That's the last thing you want to do. It teaches you so much self-discipline. But what are some of the biggest lessons boxing has taught you?
Man, well, boxing has been my life since I was 13 years old. So, I mean, boxing has taught me almost everything that I know, and the thing about it is I've met so many, so many uh, people in my career, as an amateur and as a professional. The great Emmanuel Stewart, he was one of my friends, and I when I fought Tommy Hearns in amateurs, I didn't know who Emmanuel was at that time, but and it didn't make a difference to me, just whoever they put in front of me, that's who I fought, and I remember the first time I fought Tommy, I beat him, and Emmanuel came to me afterwards and said, "Man, where you from?" You say, "You from Beaumont?" I said, "No, I'm not from Beaumont." I said, "I'm from Port Arthur," and he had never heard of Port Arthur, So he said, "Man, who else is down there?" I said, "Well, my cousin, his name is Wilford Cyprian." He said, "Oh, I know him. I heard of this kid." I said, "Well, I said, we got plenty of guys down there, man." So and so after that, start seeing him in all the tournaments and stuff like that. And then I quit, after I quit boxing, then I started working with Lou Dover and George Benton. And George Benton was one of the best trainers in the world, and I learned so much because he was my mentor, and I learned so much from him, man. It's unbelievable. And after, years went by and I got on my own, I used to call Emmanuel up all the time and ask him for advice, you know. And, George, I used to call George also. But then when George died, I turned to Emmanuel a lot more, and it was so funny that when, as time went on, then he was training Lennox Lewis, and then I had Mike Tyson. And so, you know, when we got to the fights in Memphis, was there for a week. Him and I was hanging out every day, and people was like, "Why are y'all hanging out?" and y'all fighting each other. You know, your guys are fighting each other. Say, look, man, this goes beyond that. You know, we ain't discussing game plan. You know, he trying to win like I'm trying to win. You
It's
know,
much.
so but you know, so we just left it at that, and you know, we hung out and we continued until his death.
Wow, may he rest in peace. I used to love watching him. He was a truly, incredible announcer, and you truly have been around, the elites of the elites and the greats in the boxing industry. Tell me a little bit about, real quick. I just want to touch on your professional career, because you definitely had a really great professional career. And I saw that in 1986 you actually fought for the world title.
Yeah, I fought for the world title twice actually.
Oh,
You know,
twice.
when I first turned professional, you know, my manager was Mr. Savannah. He was my manager,
Oh, Savannah
and
was.
yes, he was my manager. And so we started off first just he was promoting all my fights, and then Don King saw us fight somewhere, and he was interested in doing a contract. So, you know, me and Savannah talked about it and said, yeah, okay, let's try it and see, you know. So as time went on, you know, everything was going good at the beginning. Then things started happening, and like, you know, I started getting raided, and he still didn't want to come up with money. And then after the contract ran out, well, I got to fight for the world title, and I lost to Billy Castillo. So after the Billy Castillo fight, you know, he wanted to re-sign me, and I said no. You know, I told Savannah, I said, man, I don't want to ever re-sign with him again. He owe us so much money. Every fight, he didn't want to pay what we're supposed to make. You know, I got to take less money, and I'll make it. He kept saying, I'll make it up to you. I'll make it up to you the next fight. You know, he kept saying that for like 5 or 6 fights. And I told
Right.
Savannah, I said, man, forget that. I said, I don't want to re-sign with him. I said, I want to be independent. So he told us we'd never get a world title shot. Well, you know what? My next fight was for a world title. You know, I went to Japan and I fought this guy. His name Hamada, and he was the champion. And as a fight, I still today think I won, but I
Right.
lost a split decision. And you know, but then after that, you know, my career just, you know, just really stalled at that end. And then then all the injuries that I had to my elbow, I had to take cortisone shots. Back then, they said just give them to you a lot, you know. And, you know, but it got to a point to where I couldn't even throw a jab because my elbow was so tore up.
Wow.
And so I just decided, you know, I'm going to quit. You know, this is going to be it for me. I never retired. I quit.
Right. Now you got to listen to the body. That's something I've learned. I've had a knee surgery, and the body definitely talks to you. So it sounds like it was just on time for you to kind of transition into bigger and better things. And how did you really then transition into becoming a trainer? And you've trained multiple world champion fighters, and you have two, you have one right now as well. So how did that transition take place, and how long did you
Well,
take off?
well, after I quit boxing, you know, I went to talk to Savannah and I told him, I said, this is going to be the end for me. I'm not going to do it again. So he said, well, if you want to come and help these young kids out in the gym, you can. So I started doing that. And my wife, she, she had a job. She was making decent money for us. And, you know, we had put up some good money. So I said, I'm going to sit back for about a year and just let my body heal up first before I go out and see what I really want to do. So I started going to the gym and helping all the kids at Savannah's gym, and and I was helping all these guys out, amateurs and professionals, and then when they had fights, I was going, I was doing that for a little while, and then Lou Duva and George Benton came to the gym one day, and they saw me training fighters, doing the hand pads and stuff with the fighters, and so they talked to Savannah afterwards and asked him, was I interested in training? So I said, I don't know. You got to talk to him. So I went and I spoke to them and I told him, I said, nah, I said, man, right now I'm just trying to basically let my body heal. I say, I feel like I'm a 90-year-old man. I was aching all over. I did. I was aching all over, and I was in pain, and I refused to take anything for it, but I just dealt with it,
Why did you refuse to take any pain pills and
because
stuff
I
like
seen
that?
so many people get on drugs behind doing that, and that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to depend on anything. I just took the pain, and I said, I wasn't going to do any kind of anything related to drugs. I didn't want to do it. Every time I went to the doctor, they tried to put me on all these different steroids and everything, and I said, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to do it. And then, so when they came the first time, and I turned them down, then they came back about 2 months later, and Lil Duva said, man, and George Benton was the really one that really talked me into it. He came up to me and said, look, I understand, you want to take some time. He said, but I was the same way. He said, but you got to understand something. You're going to be doing something in your life. And he said, but this is going to be different than a lot of the other guys are doing. He said, look, we got almost a whole Olympic team, plus we got other fighters. He said, so these guys are already seasoned. All you just got to do is put your ingredients on it and everything will be good. He said, and I'll help you the rest of the way. So I said, you know what? Okay, let me try. I'll try it, and then I'll see if it's something that I'm interested in. So the very first day I got there, they said, okay, we want you to do the hand pass with Evander Holyfield. I said, okay, no problem. So we were supposed to do 4 rounds, end up doing 8 rounds. Then they said, okay, we're gonna bring in Meldrick Taylor. Instead of doing 4 rounds, I end up doing 8 rounds with him. Okay, then we're gonna bring in Mike McCallum. End up doing 8 rounds with him. I just guy after guy after guy after guy after guy. I went to their pass with like 8 guys, you know, and I'm like, oh man, oh. I said, this ain't gonna happen every day, right? They said no. So the next day I went back. Holyfield said, come on, man, I want to do the pass with you again. All right, so I ended up doing him, Meldrick Taylor, and about 3 or 4 other guys, you know. So then, really I started liking it because I knew all the guys from before, from when I was in the amateurs, I knew Evander from then and Meldrick and Pernell Whitaker and all of these guys. I'd already knew them, but, I never really hung around them as much as I knew I was going to have to. So then, I just started, and then
So
one
so
day,
so what would you say? So after you held the hand pads 8 rounds with Holyfield and those other greats, your pain must have came back instantly, huh?
actually it didn't. It didn't. I was a little sore, but, I was in decent pad shape anyway because of all the amateurs that I was doing. So it was okay for me,
What do you
you know.
what do you think made you why did they enjoy you holding the pads so much? Did you have a unique style with holding the pads? And I know it definitely is a very unique skill to hold the pads.
Yes, it is a unique skill, but the thing about it is I try to mimic what I know they're going to do in the ring. And like Holyfield, I'd seen him so much in the ring. I already knew how he fought. And, so I knew, you know, just to add some things that I knew that I thought might help, you know. And that's what George told me to do, just add things that you think might help him. And if I don't think it's good enough, then I'll come in and I'll say, well, no, we don't want to do this or we don't do that.
So
And,
so
he never
so
said anything.
right. So really not trying to change the fighter's styles, just trying to add in the tricks and
Exactly.
in the skill set that you have, but really let the fighters, be who they are.
Oh, absolutely, man. And that's I say, I was doing the pass since I was 13 years old. So now, I was 30 years old, man. So now, you know, I felt pretty good. I knew what I was doing. So and I did a lot of basic stuff with them, which they really liked. And but I made them work, and I made them work hard. And it kind of was some tension against some of the guys that also worked for main events at the time. And, and a couple of guys, they actually let them go. And the guys got mad at me. And I was like, don't get mad at me. I didn't let you go. I mean, I just did what they asked me to do. And, and some of the guys, man, they got really mad at me because I guess I did so good.
Haters gonna hate, right?
Hey, it is what it is, man.
It is what it is. So you were training fighters, Holyfield. They all really loved the way you were holding pads. You kept on training them. What then happened after you started, holding the pads for them on a regular basis?
Oh man, I mean, then Holyfield bought a house here in Houston, and then he used to call me up, say, "Hey man, I want you to come, let's watch, whoever we get ready to fight." You know, he said, "I'm calling George right now. You and George come over." So I knew I was a part of the team then when he started calling me to come over and watch film with him and George, you know, and I mean it felt great. And then I really got, then I started working for Pernell Whitaker and a lot of the other guys that they start bringing in. And then, I mean, I was getting calls, "Hey man, come to my room, come see. I want to go over some stuff with you." And I mean, everybody, I was just going over everything with all the guys, man. And and then George pulled me aside one day to say, "Hey, you know, all the guys like you, man." He said, "You could really be an asset to me also." So he said, "We'll just go over the game plan together and, give me your thoughts." And he let me in on what I thought we should do. And man, I just thought that would, I mean, that made my day. When he told me, he said, "Man, look, I'm not just telling you this." He said, "You know what you're doing." And he said, "And the guys like that, I love it. Lou loves it." He said, "So I love it when we sit down and we're watching film and then you'll stop it and say, 'Hey, I think we should do this or that or whatever." I point out things. And I told him, I said, "Man, I've been doing this as an amateur. So it's just a natural thing for me to do it." He said, "Well, that's what we want. And this is why we came and got you because, we don't want nobody else. We don't want nobody else to come and steal your weight." So and then after that, after people found out that I was working for them, man, I started getting calls from all over, and I just told them I couldn't do it because I was already signed a contract to be the main events.
That's awesome. Great story there. It sounds like you have an incredible boxing IQ, and it sounds like these greats out there saw it as well, and they were able to learn, and you guys were able to grow together. Who was your first world champion that you brought up, or what was your first fighter that won a world champion that y'all won a world championship together?
I think the first guy is I had this kid named Ivan Choco Hernandez, and he was a young kid out of Mexico, and I knew his manager real well, and he was, because I knew him from the amateurs, that the coach, and he brought him to me, and he said, "Look, we get ready to fight. Oh man, the kid from Washington D.C. The guy's in the Hall of Fame now, Mark Too Sharp Johnson." He said, "We get ready to fight Mark Too Sharp Johnson," and I said, "Oh man, that's a tough fight." He said, "Yeah, I know, man, but he said, man, this kid, I'm telling you, this kid can win." And so I brought him in the gym, man, and we worked hard every day. And when we fought, Mark Too Sharp Johnson was like, he was world champion, but he was getting older, up in age. So I told this kid, I said, "Look, man, you're the younger guy. You got to use everything. All of your youth got to come out." I said, "You just got to throw punches that he'll never see. And you just got to be consistent. And you just got to just push the pace real fast on him. Don't let him get comfortable trying to outbox you." So, and he did, man. And he won that world title, man. I was so happy for him, but I was really happy for myself also.
Yeah, congratulations. You earned it as well. What do you think made you such a successful what do you think made you such a successful boxing trainer?
Well, I think I have to give a lot of credit to my amateur coach because, like I said, at 13 years old, he taught me how to do the pads. He taught everybody in the gym. We all in the gym did the pads, but and then he started letting me work the corners, and here I am, 14 years old, working amateur fights. I'm the lead in the corner, you know, and he just told me, he said, "Just do it the way you would fight somebody. That's the way you tell them how to fight somebody." because back then we didn't have film. Sometimes we knew the guy, you know, because we seen him fight or whatever, or we might have fought him before. But but a lot of times, you know, it's just instinct. A lot of just instinct. Especially after the first round, you'll know for sure, what kind of guy your the opponent is. But but I just picked up on a lot of stuff, man. And like I give all the credit to my amateur coach because if it wasn't for him, that he taught me what to look for in everybody, taught me all the different styles to watch out for, how to handle each style. He taught me all of that stuff at 13, 14 years old. So, I credit him for a lot of the stuff that I do today.
Yeah, sounds like he was a great trainer for sure. What who would you say out of all the, the world-class fighters you've trained, who would you say, two questions. Who was the most disciplined fighter that you trained and which one hit the hardest?
Oh, I don't I don't know, man. Well, I think at the beginning of when I start training all of those guys, I would say Evander Holyfield probably was the most he probably was the most gifted, well, he was one of the most gifted guys. But I think Pernell Whitaker probably took over other than that. But I think Evander probably was the most disciplined guy. He was more disciplined than all the rest of the guys. And then second behind him, I would say Pernell Whitaker.
Wow, that's amazing. And one thing that that we talk about at KirBeBetter is you got to do what you love at the end of the day. Do what you love what you do. And clearly, when talking to you, boxing is truly what you love, and you have this intuition about it that's just amazing. So that truly is amazing. What what would you say? Um, so what would you say the highest moment of your training career was?
I had a lot of high moments, man. I really, really and truly did. And I think one of my high moments was when this little kid from Houston, the Hispanic kid named Juan Diaz,
Oh, Juan
when
Diaz. I know him very well.
yes. So when Juan first won his world championship, the first world championship, you know, I started working with Juan. He was still an amateur kid when I first started working with him. And but he was just a kid, man. When the bell rang, he jumped straight across the ring and they just start throwing punches. And then when he turned pro, he had about 3 fights before I first started working with him. But once I first started working with him, I slowed the pace, had to slow the pace down for him. I told him, I said, you won't live long in this sport, fighting the way you fight. I said, your body is gonna only let you do so much to it. I said, you gotta rest your body, you gotta relax a little bit. And what I did was add a jab to him. I told him, I said, look, when you start jabbing more, that's gonna really help you so much in your career. And once I told him that, he's like a sponge. He took everything in. And man, he wouldn't throw no other punches. I used to make him just like a whole round jab. That's it. He wasn't allowed to throw a right hand. He wasn't allowed to throw a left hook. He was only allowed to jab. And sometimes we did 2, 3 rounds of that. And he did so well in doing it. And then he loved it. He fell in love with it. And I told him once he started fighting 10 and 12 round fights, I said, man, you go actually see what I mean once you start doing that. And he did. And when we got ready to fight for the world title, man, he looked awesome. And people couldn't believe the way this kid fought. And, that was one of my proudest moments, though.
Yeah, no, Juan Diaz, we'll talk about that, but what would you say, why was that one of your proudest moments with Juan Diaz? And you truly did bring him up. He was an incredible fighter, and man, he did like to fight in those wars early on in his career for sure, and just slug it out. But he was an incredible fighter. What made that one of your, most significant moments in your career when you trained fighters like Evander Holyfield and, all these other great fighters?
Well, because all those guys had natural talent. Juan didn't have the natural, you had to teach Juan, everything, and it makes you feel so much better when you did something to help a person to, to develop his career.
Right.
And like I say, Juan was one of these guys that he was just a pressure fighter only. He only knew one way. But then when I added the jab to him and made him start jabbing more and start boxing more, then he became a different fighter. And so when people saw Juan at the beginning, they know he was just coming straight forward. But nobody seen him back up and be able to box and move around and do different things. And that changed the whole scope for him. And now when guys were looking at him, they didn't know how to approach him because they didn't know whether he's coming forward or he goes sit on the outside and box. So it's a different perspective for him, for everybody. That's when you're looking at, how am I going to prepare for this Juan Diaz now when, he may jab you 1,000 times, but then when he get closer, he's going to be like a windmill and just start throwing punches all over the place. So when we had him doing both things, he really became a problem for a lot of people.
Definitely. That is truly amazing. And it really sounds like, you really helped develop him, more than all these other fighters that had natural talent. So, hey, congratulations on the success with Juan Diaz. He really turned out to be, a Houston legend. And when I was training at Savannah's, I actually got the pleasure to work the pads with him. So I'm sure you probably showed him some of that pad work he had as well, because he was really good at holding the pads for me. And he showed me some things. But, last few things I want to touch on here. Also, when I was training at Savannah's, probably the first year I was training there. And hey, I'm just a white boy from the suburbs, so I wasn't sparring too hard over there, but I really did get pretty good at boxing. But I remember like the first year I was training there, this one kid came up to me, and I was throwing the jab and I was dropping my hand down. He came over to me and he said, "Hey, you got to whip that jab right back to the chin. Don't drop it down. Somebody's going to catch you." And his name was Charlo, and they were twins. And the Charlo brothers were training there at the time, and they were just two super humble guys, and they worked with me a few times when I was there. And to me, it's just so amazing to see that they're essentially two of the best fighters in the game right now. How are you? Are you training both of the brothers right now? And
No, I only train Jamal.
You train
I train
Jamal.
Jamal now.
Awesome.
I was in the gym one day training all the amateur kids, and I was training Holyfield in the gym one day. They were like 12, 13 years old, and they both came up to me and said, "Hey, when you gonna come train us?" And I said, "Man, I really don't have time to come train you guys right now." I say, "But, you know, I say I'll come back periodically, and I would start come work with you guys." And so I did. I would start going back, a couple of days a week, and man, I would have to do the pass of like 20 kids. And I did the pass with them. And so they said, "Hey man, we want you to be our trainer." I said, "Man, I'm traveling too much right now. I can't do it." I said, "But look, when you guys turn about 17, 18 years old, call me." And and you just think that, they go forget, whatever. So and I remember when they turned 17 years old, Jamel called me and he said, "Hey, I'm ready." I said, "You sure?" He said, "I'm ready." I said, "How about your brother?" He said, "No, he's not ready yet. He wants to try out for the Olympics." I said, "All right, cool." So I went over there and I started working with him. I said, "You know what, man?" I said, so you don't want to try for the Olympics?" "Nah." He said, I want to turn pro." I said, "Okay, no problem." So I called Shelly Finkel, who was the manager for Holyfield, Pernell Whitaker. I mean, all of the guys, Tyson, everybody, you know. So I called him and I told him I have this young kid that I want to turn pro and I want him to help me with it. He said, "Okay, let's do it." So we did, we turned him pro, and his brother still didn't want to do it. He wanted to wait. So then after about the first year, then I got a call from his brother Jamal. Jamal said, "I'm ready too." So then I told him, I said, "Well, I couldn't get Shelly. He didn't want to manage him." Shelly said, "Right now, I got too many guys right now. Jamel is doing great, but I don't want to fall into that. I said, okay, no problem. So I told Jamal, I said, don't worry about it. I say, I'm good friends with everybody at Golden Boy Promotions. So when they have a fight in Houston, we'll turn you pro in Houston. And we did. And every time one day fought in Houston, I got Jamel and Jamal on both of those cards, on the cards. And so they, start going back and forth. And then, after a while, Shelly decided that he wanted to become a promoter. And so, you can't be a promoter and a manager at the same time. So he had to give up his rights to be a promoter. I mean, a manager, so he can go ahead and promote fights. And so he got in with this group and they start promoting fights. And so then Jamel, I told him, I said, look, I got a good friend of mine. He's a lawyer from New York named Josh Dubin. I say, I can get him to manage you. So he said, okay, let's do it. So then, he got Josh to start managing him. And I mean, we took Jamel all over, man. And then, but we took Jamal too, you know, when we went to Puerto Rico, Jamel fought in Puerto Rico. We took Jamal. Jamal fought there too. Then Jamel was fighting all in like Nashville and Mississippi and all those places, and Jamal tagged right along. You
And they
know,
weren't losing
and
either.
no, they was winning. They was winning all the fights. And then when when I started working with Al Heyman and PBC, Jamel bought his contract out from Josh, and I told him, I said, Dan, you could be independent. You're already with a good people that's going to work with you, so just do that. And so Jamal ended up not ever having a manager until we got with Al Heyman, and then you know Al started managing both of them, and so that's how that happened.
Truly amazing. What's amazing to me, I'm all about personal development. That's what we talk about at KirBeBetter, just becoming the
Right.
best version of yourself. And it's truly amazing how you're able to take so many of these fighters. Of course, Evander Holyfield had that natural talent, but you took Juan Diaz, you took the Charlo Brothers, and it's clear as day that you have a system and you have processes to really take these fighters from being, essentially at the bottom all the way to the top. And it's truly amazing, how you're able to develop these fighters. And it's because you love what you do and you're great at it. So I definitely salute you for really, taking these fighters all the way to the top. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I tell everybody, man, that it's not me. You have to have it within you to do it. I say, just like a lot of other trainers, we can tell you what to do, but you'd have to be the one that do it. So, and I give all the fighters the credit, you know, because it's not easy to sit back and put up a game plan, but they have to follow and believe in what you believe in.
Right.
And if they do that, man, we can go a long way together.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. You got to just, you know, show them how to find that greatness within themselves, and that's what you're able to do, and that's what makes you so unique. And I really appreciate you being on the podcast today. Last two questions: what do you think the current state of boxing is right now? I know UFC. Everybody wants to watch UFC these days. There's not any, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao aren't fighting anymore. There's no these mega fights don't seem to be happening in boxing as much. Of course, I love boxing. It'll always have a special place in my heart because of how much it's helped me on my path. What do you think the current state of boxing is in right now? And where's it going to go in the next, 10, 15 years?
Well, I think because of the pandemic, at first, I mean, nobody knew where it was going to go because of no fans. So, but then something strange happened when they decided, okay, we're gonna start putting on, we're gonna start doing fights without audience, without people being
Right.
there. So then they they say, you know what, the best is gonna have to fight the best. We can't.
Whew.
It's no more building anymore. Everybody's already built. You're already there. You know. So now I think the fights are better now because of it. You know, because now you only have 4 or 5 fights on a card.
Right.
You know, it used to be 10, 12 fights on the card. Now it's only 4 or 5. And now well, Texas is the only state that I know of right now that's allowing people to come, and you can only have a certain amount of people to watch the fights. But
Right.
other states are starting to do it now, but it's forcing the best to fight the best now,
Hey, and
and that's what's happening.
and that's what boxing needs clearly. Because what does the UFC do? You win 5, 6 fights in a row. Hey, bang! You're fighting for a world championship, and
Right.
you can't go 40-0, in the UFC. It doesn't exist, and I think that's a great point you just made. And let's hope that the best of the best fight, because that's what the sport needs. And Ali wasn't, Ali kept fighting the best of the best, and that's what it needs. So that's a great point. So I got two more questions. The last two questions I got for you,
Go
Rob.
ahead on, man. Take your time.
Rob T. Rob T was a part of Muhammad Ali's entourage. He's a Houston legend, as we call him, the OG of OGs. So he wanted me to ask you a question about Creed, the trainer plus
Yes.
Mr. Goodall.
Yes. Well, Mr. Goodall, he's deceased now, but he was one of my trainers when I first turned professional. And Mr. Goodall, man, he old school. He knew it all. He's seen everything, done everything, and I was happy to be with him and for him to be a part of my team, because I really needed that at the time. And as far as Creed's concerned, Creed been with me now for the last, I would say, 20 years. As one of my trainers. He started off as my cut man when I was fighting. And then when I went to the gym one day, I told him, I said, man, I need some help. And I can use you because, you got a lot of knowledge. You was working with me. So I learned a lot from you too. I said, but, I got so many guys now that I need you to come in and just be with me. And, after the pandemic hit, Creed's doctor told him he needed to quit. And man, that was one of the saddest days of my life, because Creed had been around for so long. But I kept calling. I said, man, look, you don't have to come every day, but just come maybe once or twice a week. And then, I had to hire another trainer. So I had a guy that I used to train myself, Gwen. And I had Dominic Gwen, So when I hired Dominic, he knew Creed too. So I said, listen, I need Creed to come in also. You don't have to come in every day, but maybe a couple of days a week or whatever. But then when me and Dominique have to go out of town now, Creed go and he runs the gym for us. So, so Creed is going to be there with me forever.
Oh, that's amazing. It sounds like you and Creed have been through thick and thin together. I can hear it, I can hear it when you're talking about him. You care a whole lot about him. And it sounds like you guys have been, through all the ups and the downs and in the in-betweens together. And it sounds like you have a real solid team. And, I think that's what it takes to win. And I'm early on in my career here. I definitely respect everything that you've done. I'm 31 and I feel like I'm just getting started. And I'm really just trying to build that team of loyal people to where, in 30 years, when they're ready to step down, I can have that same kind of conversation with them that you just said. So it's truly amazing what you've done. What would you say is next for you? What's next for you? What do you, I mean, you've done it all in terms of being a trainer. I mean, you're not 45 anymore, but it's still amazing how you're still at the top of your game. What would you say is next for you?
Well, I mean, for me, boxing is my life. So there's nothing else that's going to be next for me. Boxing is it. That's it. I knew it when I was 13 years old. I knew it, But, I mean, I still got some young kids, though, that I'm working with. My youngest kid is 18 years old. And he's just signed with Golden Boy Promotions. And he's fighting January 2nd in Dallas. So definitely, I'm looking forward to his career. He's a cruiserweight. And this kid, man, has the best left hook I've ever seen. And strong. This kid, he's gonna knock everybody out, man. He's really good. His name is Tristan Caproot, and
Okay.
he's from Dallas, and but he's from right outside of Dallas. But this kid can fight though. He's really really good. I'm looking forward to some good things. But he's a young guy, so and I still have some good up and coming guys. I have a fight on Showtime on January 23rd. I got a kid. He's a lightweight named Justin Paldo. He's 14 wins, 1 loss, and he's fighting for the interim WBA lightweight title against a guy named Rolando. Oh man, for Rolando Romero.
Oh
But it's
wow.
going to be on Showtime.
Well,
So
we're definitely
absolutely, man.
we're definitely going to check those fights out, and everybody listen, make sure to check it out. Well, hey, it's amazing, man. It sounds like you're just getting started too, Ronnie.
Oh, absolutely, man.
And you know
Got to
that's
stay
what
busy.
got to stay busy. And that's what we're all about at KirBeBetter. You know, people think that there's a finish line. I'm going to work my entire life, and when I get to 50, when I get some money, I'm going to retire and go sit on the beach. That's no fun. It's, you know, you got the right
No.
mindset. Do it until the wheels fall off and until you're 6 feet under. You got to keep doing what you love, and I think that's why you're still, you know, operating at such a high level. But the last question I want to ask you is, to us, getting to the top means, you know, becoming the best version of yourself day in and day out. There is no top, just doing whatever it takes to constantly keep learning and growing and evolving. So what would be your one piece of advice for what it takes to get to the top?
Well, you know, just in order for you to get to the top, you have to, you know, just learn your craft, whatever your craft is. If you're a lawyer, you know, you got to be the best lawyer. That, you know, you gotta read, you gotta study, you gotta know the whole points of the law in order to be the best at that. You know, and that's like for me, you know, people say, well, you know, you've seen everything, you've done everything. Yeah, I might have seen everything, but that don't mean I gotta stop studying. You know, I study every day. Every day I'm looking at film, looking at who's doing this, who's doing that. How do we, you know, I got to look at my guy, look at the opponent to see, you know, what to do and how to do it, and how to get him to do it. And, you know, and you have to believe in yourself, though. That's the most important thing. If you believe in you, nobody else can tell you anything because you know it. You have to show it. You prove it. But once you prove it, people will come to you, no matter what line of work is you doing.
Amen to that. Hey, I don't even need to say anything after that. That was absolutely incredible. It's just all about constantly learning, finding out what you love, and just keep pushing it until the wheels fall off. But it's been an absolute pleasure interviewing you today, Ronnie. I know I learned a whole lot from this interview, and I hope everybody else out there got as much value as I did. And definitely we're looking forward to what's next for you. We're going to keep going. And I end all these interviews with the exact same thing. Let's keep going, guys. Never give up. Chase your dreams. Anything is possible. See you at the top.
At the top, that's where I go.